Hello and welcome to my presentation of our final project in our class. My subject is space technology. Friend or foe? I'd like to start talking about the social impacts, and there are three schools of thought in this arena. The first is technological determinism, where we have to ask ourselves, does technology shape society? And of course, there's social construction, where it's the other way around. Do we shape technology? And then there's a blend of the two presented by Hughes, known as technological momentum, where the two aspects shape each other. I tend to believe in this particular philosophical aspect. Now, technologies, obviously throughout history, strongly influence social change. We see great examples of this with running water, gunpowder, and more recently with satellite technology. There are many more examples down below. And of course, the influence on behavior and operations, including the space community in recent years, shows that a world is immersed in a technology with its ever-changing environment. And as this technology has advanced, our reliance on it has also increased, not to mention the rapid rate of growth, as seen in the chart below, how it's exponentially more rapid in recent years. We'll talk about both of those aspects later on. The issue that I want to discuss with satellite technology in mind is technology as a control. And the reason for that is Monahan tells us that technology has advanced and become more incorporated in our daily lives and our work, since humans are the greatest source of uncertainty and efficiency. So we humans seek this efficiency as well as more surety in our security. This introduces the tentative balance between liberty and security as X-ray and other technologies become more prevalent in our airports, for instance. And lastly, we see space technology, my topic of choice, and how it is instituting control through influence. With this increased control, of course, there is significant change. Well, we can assess whether some of this change is good or bad. We see, obviously, in the good, the things that we like, increased security, peace of mind, and then of course the bad with some of the personal freedoms, such as Google Glass, eyewear for computer that you can put on your face that could utilize face recognition technology to pull up information on people in Google or whatever just by looking at them, and other things like that. Where does this trend end is the alarming issue. As seen here, while society increasingly relies on the inevitability of the next great technological advancement that will make all of our lives easier, have we stopped to think whether this progress is truly benevolent? Here are many examples of aspects of this technology that have lasting and negative impacts, or potential impacts in the future. For instance, Monahan cautions that we could see an increase in the gap between the haves and the have-nots as class bias likely increases. Latour cautions the ever-increasing use of human substitutes. Ritzer warns us that we've allowed technology to enter into our most primal life choices, such as birth, where it helps us conceive, and death, where machines now keep us alive. Then there's Rayner's virtual panopticon, where he talks about an example of a round prison where all of the cells surround the guard tower in the center, and the guard can see all of the prisoners, but none of the prisoners can see the guard. And that our technological lives today through social media are very similar. And then Turkle mentions her alone together situation where, regardless of whether or not you're alone in the room, if you have the internet, you're probably not alone at all. Then we have possible gender and demographic issues looming, especially in a transgendered world. And Bess and Wolpe also caution us about the future use of technology as we medically enhance ourselves through drugs and devices, and delve into cloning and stem cell research aspects of neo-evolution. Have our technical abilities outpaced our social and moral understanding of the impact? While some inroads have emerged by private companies entering into space with planned Mars missions and possible asteroid mining, the government still maintains the bulk of the influence. Government control via information, communication, and satellite influence, along with non-human space technology such as drones, is a disturbing trend. This means that government is managing us through the use of technologies such as GPS, communication, and imagery, now using laser technology. So space developed as a technology mostly through government funding and propaganda, and has enhanced government control since the barriers to enter the space technological field are insurmountable for anyone except developed nations. This means that human politicians are relying more and more on non-humans to make war and keep citizens in line through the use of these various technologies. Well, who's impacted? All citizens of the world are potentially impacted, since the reach of space technology literally surrounds the globe. And while danger does not necessarily lurk immediately for us all, it is important that we understand the trends and the implications for all of our futures. Hughes tells us that there are three aspects of technological change, as we discussed earlier. You can see examples here of the technological determinism, which of course would have space technology influencing cultural changes, and this is through the use of the innovation in that technology, such as speed of information, availability of it, our technologies, communication, GPS, weather, and war. And then social construction, which society influencing technological change, such as Reagan's Star Wars program, certain military applications, the supply and demand aspect, and the new use of laser technology. Within my job, I've seen many aspects of how this technology is being used to enact societal change since I work in the satellite technology field. As with any technology, as we rely more upon it and the line between what we need and what we want blurs, we cannot help but be influenced as a society by that technology. This is no different with the space technology, of course. And it brings to mind some questions. Is military-grade GPS changing how we function, for instance? Are we overly reliant on satellite communications? Are we truly being watched from the sky by the government? These questions and others come to the forefront. Well, the future of space is uncertain, but there are some likely trends. History is being made. There are inevitable changes ahead for humans and the use of space. Science and technology advance, and there are potential consequences looming. As more countries will join, conflicts will become more and more likely. There's an increased risk of economic impact, and because the almighty dollar, of course, is the bottom line. And cultural social impacts may also occur, partially through the economic side, but also through social and cultural change. Well, what can we do? What plans can we put in place to avoid the potential pitfalls? Well, a few things might help. We can discuss the issues openly around the world, and we can encourage and incorporate more commercial space technology into existing control functions and limit military aspects to military influence and application only. Ironically, of course, we may require legislation that defines these new boundaries and defines the allocation of assets accordingly. Recognizing that while we have the means, we may, of course, not have the moral power to enact these. And of course, there are possibilities to use space technology within the plan, limiting the exclusive nature of the field, allowing commercial interests to grow, relinquishing government control in those areas, and utilizing existing and future technology for all of society, not just the elite, and limit non-human technologies and space applications, of course. So why change? Is it worth solving? Well, if I were asked to fix this issue, I would attempt to enact real and lasting change through the plan that we just discussed. This fight is worth fighting, and the education of citizens to these issues is the vehicle I would use to wage that war. We cannot afford to widen the already problematic gap between the rich and the poor. We must also avoid scenarios that lead to machines with AI controlling aspects of our lives, like science fiction depicts with the movie Terminator's Skynet. We must use caution in how technology is changing our lives and culture. Technology developing at a rate that is alarming. Human cultural evolution and our ability to fathom the moral and ethical implications of these changes, unfortunately, continues at a slow, normal pace. This highlights the fundamental problem with technology going forward. We may not be able to cope with the implications that this rapid change brings along. Thank you very much.